Makoto is having an extremely unlucky day. Absolutely nothing seems to be going her way. But then, after finishing up her after-school cleaning session, she enters the science lab after hearing something inside, and ends up falling on top of a tiny foreign object. Makoto then has this surreal, out-of-body experience, completely unaware that her life has now been changed forever. She tells her best friends about the incident, but what could they possibly have to say? She doesn't learn anything until she's riding her bike to the museum, and the brakes fail. She rockets down the hill and crashes straight into a passing train, but Makoto doesn't die. As she flew through the air, she actually leapt through time, back just a moment before the crash. It doesn't take long for Makoto to figure out her newfound power. By building up momentum and flying through the air, she's able to travel backwards through time. And what does she do with this incredible power? She completely wastes it, leaping back in time over the smallest inconveniences and for the most unambitiously selfish reasons you could think of. But after repeating the same few days over and over again, she starts to realize that her good fortune could have negative consequences on other people, and that maybe she doesn't have the amount of control that she thought she did. She's about to learn the hard way that time waits for no one. The Girl Who Soars Through Time was a serialized 7-part science fiction series from 1965 through 1966. There have been 3 live-action versions over the years, one in 1983, another in 1997, and again in 2010. That one, I read, is a sequel to the 83 version, so that's pretty crazy. The version we're talking about is the 2006 anime, which is a loose adaptation, from director Mamoru Hosoda. Before this, he worked for Toei. His first directing gigs were for popular series like Digimon and One Piece. And after The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, he went on to create some of the best anime in recent memory. Summer Wars, Wolf Children, The Boy and the Beast. This guy is amazing. And The Girl That Leapt Through Time is pretty much what put this guy in the spotlight, and it's easy to see why. It's a great movie. Hopefully you aren't leaping into this movie expecting an intense science fiction adventure with this huge scope, because it's not that. This is a light movie. It has a nice, slow pace. First, it's a coming-of-age story, with a focus on young love and missed opportunities. And it's all very grounded and mostly pleasant. Makoto spends the entire movie hopping around the same handful of days, just kinda goofing off. This is a cheery movie. It's pleasant, it's charming, and it's also very funny. But just because the movie is fairly gentle doesn't mean that it doesn't know how to throw a punch. The Girl Who Leapt Through Time has a handful of segments that are pretty intense, and there are moments that are fairly upsetting or just straight up devastating. At the very least, you should have an emotional response to the very end of the movie because, wow. This movie manages to be breezy and enjoyable, but with a few surprises up its sleeve. I would say that it's a movie that anyone should enjoy, but I'm afraid that just isn't true. Because it's a bit underwhelming for its time travel premise, while also oddly being a bit overwhelming because of how hectic the movie can get. If you're interested in the science fiction parts, you're going to be disappointed. You do get an explanation, you get a backstory and a resolution, but it gives you just the information you need for the story. But that stuff isn't the focus. If you're mostly interested in the romance plot, again, you'll probably be disappointed, because that's really not what the movie's about. It's about the girl who leapt through time. It's about a small window of time that puts everything into perspective for this character, and it's about maturity and finding oneself. It's a science fiction romantic dramedy, and it checks all those boxes. But it won't be wholly satisfying if you weren't expecting a mostly light, grounded drama. Now, from an animation standpoint, I think this movie mostly delivers. It's not going to knock your socks off like a Ghibli production. The character designs are simple, while the scenery and the backgrounds are very detailed. The contrast is a little weird, but it looks good. The movie is animated well, and it has plenty of personality. The voice acting is really good, the music is great. On the technical side of things, this movie pretty much hits a home run. Everything meshes together beautifully. The tone, the style, the feeling, it's all very pleasant. But when you take all that and you have an emotional and engaging story, and you allow yourself to be swept up by the magic and the nostalgia of it all, even throughout its deliberately slow pace, if you let it, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time will leap its way right into your heart.